Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GameClock, your new favorite sports show. I'm your host, Michael Pales, and today we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl. Yes, I'm going to spend 40 minutes yapping about the Super Bowl and its implications, but I'm excited to see you guys, and let's get rolling as we get here and we start the clock. Okay, so, elephant in the room. I was right. The Seattle Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. Now, there were a lot of aspects to this that resulted in this win, obviously. It's quite a staggering margin, and this really doesn't tell the full story. Now, starting with the first quarter, this game kind of started off on an interesting foot. You had a field goal from Jason Myers, and really all we saw was field goals until, I believe, the fourth quarter. And so this game was super slow to start off. And this game, I knew coming in, talking about it. It was going to be dominated by defense. This was going to be a game that was like, okay, cool, not much happens. No player took over. The defense was astounding by both teams, especially the Seattle defense. We saw punt, 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 punt. If you're used to watching Iowa Hawkeyes football, let me tell you, this Super Bowl was not out of the ordinary for you. This was a game that was dominated by defense, and beyond the normal dominant defenses we've seen, this is a defense on the caliber of the 2000 Ravens. I will say that. And I'll talk about this in the next quarter about Sam Darnold, where I think he falls, things like that. But for the game as a whole, looking at it from an outside looking in, the Patriots, everyone knew walking in, they were going to lose. Prediction markets, however you feel about prediction markets, the Patriots already were a 40%, the Seahawks were a 60% favorite to win. This game, everyone walked in and said, that team's going to win. And there wasn't any hope. There was no hope that the Patriots were winning until the Mac Hollins touchdown. Truly, there was not a spark until the late third quarter. This game looked like one of the most boring games. A lot of people, I would fall asleep during this game because of how slow it was. And I'm someone I love special teams. I love watching an absolute masterclass by the Seattle Seahawks punter. He was putting the ball in a great spot and forcing the Patriots to start from bad position, but also the same thing was happening with the Patriots. The Patriots punter was putting the ball in the right spot and was really setting them up for success. So, by every metric, this was a game that was dominated by defense and special teams. Now, offenses really didn't get going until the third quarter, and you kind of see it in the tape, but even then, the Patriots were absolutely forcing the Seahawks to struggle in the pass game. Sam Darnold was pressured, I don't even know how many times, but he was 4 for 11. I saw one graphic before the end of the game, where he was 4 for 11 when pressured, when they brought more than 4 rushers. And that just doesn't bode well in terms of success for a quarterback. When you have a guy that is going in and consistently struggling against pressure, it was really rough, but it's also because that defense and that defensive back core of the Patriots was playing out of their mind. Truly, Christian Gonzalez would have been the MVP, Super Bowl MVP, if the Patriots had won. I truly believe that. Unless Drake May had done some magic comeback where he threw 4 touchdowns to win the game for them. But that wasn't going to happen, and we knew that. And so it came down to, okay, what defensive player would win it if you were the Patriots? And it was Christian Gonzalez, because he was showing up. He had 3 pass deflections. He nearly had an interception. He was razor close to having an interception on the goal line, and that would have changed the entire game in terms of the momentum. So football is a game of momentum, and the momentum was constantly in the Seattle Seahawks' favor. Field goal, cool. They start off with the lead. They have a really good stop, and from that point, these teams looked demoralized. They couldn't get anything going on offense, and that was from both sides. And the thing is that the Seattle Seahawks putted out a lot in the red zone. They would get to the red zone. They'd get in a really, really strong spot and then would just stop. They wouldn't be able to get there. And it's one of those situations where if you look at those field goal ranges, 33-yard attempt, 39-yard attempt, 41-yard attempt, 41-yard attempt, where's his last field goal? 26-yard attempt. They weren't kicking them from far away. It wasn't like they were getting having a great kicker who is just absolutely doming it like Brandon Aubrey or Cam Little, who can kick a 60-yard field goal automatic. But the thing was that this offense was not finishing drives. They weren't. And that's something that in the future worries me. Not necessarily, obviously. They won the Super Bowl. Congratulations. Give them their props. They were the best team in football this year. Bar none. They were one of the top defenses by every metric, and their offense was decent. Passable even, in the sense of they had such a good defense. They weren't the Patriots. The Patriots also had an elite defense, but their offense was not of the same caliber when playing an elite defense. That's the thing, is that it just matters if your offense is better, because both defenses were so good that we knew this was going to be a defensive matchup. And it was one of those situations where we got these weird plays where it was just a very interesting game as a whole. Because looking at it, it's one of those Super Bowls that is probably going to go down like the Super Bowl between the Rams and Patriots. That was like a 13-3 Super Bowl. It's not going to go down as that bad because we did have some excitement in the fourth quarter. We had 2 touchdowns. We had a Ramondre Stevenson grab it off the blades of grass catch and a Mac Hollins just crazy catch. Mac Hollins, in my opinion, is slowly becoming one of the better pass catchers in the NFL. Like, he is playing exceptionally well as a pass catcher for Drake May. And when you have a guy that is Drake May, who's 1 vote away from winning the MVP, it makes a difference. It truly does. And that is the thing that I'm recognizing now, is that this was the Seattle Seahawks. The only team that gave them a run for their money in terms of defense was the Rams. And that game, Sam Darnold was the reason they won. This game, Sam Darnold played well. And the only reason they won as a result of Sam Darnold was that he did not turn the ball over. That is the thing. The turnovers are what got this team in trouble in past games. They went 17-3. Sorry, I'm looking at that record. They went 17-3. This is one of those teams that they were able to keep it going and keep it running because their defense was so good and their offense didn't turn the ball over. They won the turnover battle. And this was a game lacking a lot of turnovers until the very end of the game. You had the fumble 6, and then you had the, touchdown to Mac Hollins, the interceptions. So you started throwing some really bad interceptions, Drake May did. This was one of those situations where you look at it and you're just like, as a Patriots fan, don't worry, you have a young core, you're going to be back. Like, truly, you're going to be back. And the Seattle Seahawks look poised to run it back. They do look poised because they're not losing anyone. The only guy that is really going into free agency that's a major player is Kenneth Walker. And now I'll talk about Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker deserved the Super Bowl MVP for sure. I personally voted for Jason Myers. I think that as a kicker, when you score 17 points of your 29 points that your team scored, you should win MVP, especially when you're automatic. Because think about it. He was most valuable in the sense of, 1, he scored the most points out of any player. He also was the reason that they were leading and consistently winning, like getting here. Because if you don't trust your kicker, you're not going to be able to have the drives finish the way they did if you are the Seahawks. There were close moments. There was moments where the game was a little close, but Jason Myers was hitting kicks and making them. If we had a kicker miss, there would have been a whole different dialogue that would have been happening. And I think Jason Myers was very valuable, but Kenneth Walker definitely deserved it. And he had 27 carries, 135 yards. Plus, I think he had 2 receptions for 26 yards. Like, almost 150 all-purpose yards. Over 150 all-purpose yards. That is exceptional as a running back. And it's exciting to see. So, as a whole, I think Kenneth Walker deserved the Super Bowl MVP, but he's going into free agency next year and this offseason, and I would not be surprised if a team goes, hey, Kenneth, come play for us. We are not going to have your TDs stolen by Zach Charbonnet because you can't. Apparently, your team doesn't believe that you're a good goal line back. Like, that's the thing, is that we saw Kenneth Walker come into his own at the end of this season because the only reason that Kenneth Walker did not pop out was because the offense was so dead set on running a 2 running back set. Truly, it would have been impressive if Kenneth Walker had been by just himself in the backfield this whole time. So, but Kenneth Walker deserves Super Bowl MVP. I think that, personally, I did vote for Jason Myers, the kicker, for the Seattle Seahawks for MVP, but that wasn't going to happen. But truly, their defense was the MVP, but Kenneth Walker just popped out. I think it's hard when you have a player award, but not a side of the ball award, because this is one of those situations where I would have loved to see Seattle Seahawks defense MVP, most valuable player. So, but now as we get into the second quarter, I'm going to chat a little bit about the ginger beard himself, Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold obviously is a very successful player. He's gone through a lot of hardship, I'll say, in his time. I mean, he bounced around the league. He was with 5 teams. This was his 5th team. He finally made his way through and was able to work it out. And he has success here with the Seahawks. And there are some people that are going, oh, is he a top 10 quarterback? And I'm like, or top 5. They're asking if he's top 5. And I'm like, no world is he top 5. Top 10, there's an argument that could be made for certain. I think he's probably in that like 9, 10, 11 spot, in that range. Because when I look at Sam Darnold and what he did, he game managed. He was a very impressive game manager. And you might wonder, oh, what do you mean by that? He delivered the ball when he needed to. He did not win. They did not win as a result of him, but they also did not lose as a result of him. That's the definition of a game manager. He handed the ball off to Kenneth Walker. He delivered the ball when he needed to. He had maybe one ball that I was like, oh my goodness, that's insane. And that was the Cooper Kupp pass on the sideline in the first drive. But the rest of it, he just did his job. That was all he did, was his job. And he's paid like a game manager, which he should be. I don't think there's a world in which he should get paid more. But people are like, oh, let's give Sam Darnold his flowers. His flowers are, yes, he was the Super Bowl winning quarterback, but that's not the reason they won a Super Bowl. I don't think people went and were talking about Trent Dilfer as a top 10 quarterback when the 2000 Ravens won with that defense. There are teams that get carried. There have been quarterbacks that have been carried by their offenses. And yes, or defenses, sorry. And yes, has Sam Darnold played exceptionally well in this postseason? Yes, but this Super Bowl did not give me any more data where I'm like, that's a guy that I think deserves to be called a top 5 quarterback. He's not top 5 because if I'm naming them off the top of my head, Matt Stafford, Drake May, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff. I just named 7 guys that I think I would take over Sam Darnold right now, and that's not even including Brock Purdy. And either way, getting back to the core of it, Sam Darnold. Give him his flowers for now. But I don't think that if this team were to lose Sam Darnold and insert whoever, obviously I'm not saying you can just plug and play anyone, but I'm saying if you were to replace Sam Darnold with any of the 9 quarterbacks I picked, this team wins more handedly than they did. That's what I believe. That's how the top 10 argument works. And this is why he didn't win Super Bowl MVP. This is why he didn't have he's not being talked about. It's the defense. This defense was outstanding. And Joe Schneider, I think it's Joe Schneider. I don't know his first name. Schneider, the GM for the Seahawks, deserves all of the credit. He has made some great calls that were questioned when he started. He's the reason they traded Russell Wilson at the value they did. Those picks turned into Devin Witherspoon. Those picks turned into guys that were impact players this season. And he made trades that mattered. Leonard Williams was one of those guys he traded for and was able to get. They were able to pursue DeMarcus Lawrence and get him, and he won a Super Bowl first year he's off of the Cowboys. The more that I look at it, the more I see the sample size, the more I think, one, the NFC West is the hardest division to play in. It is the best division. There's a reason that 3 teams were all competing for the 1 seed. Yes, I'm aware it's the Dragon meme. I don't care. The Cardinals are not good. Again, a division I think is rated by its top 3, not by its whole. I'd rather have 3 teams that are all Super Bowl caliber teams than 4 teams that are all going to be first round exits or divisional round exits. NFC North. Regardless, I think the Seahawks have a chance to run it back, but I don't know if Sam Darnold is going to maintain the level of play he had. He has played 2 years. He has silenced a lot of haters, but again, he has those moments where, and they didn't show up in the playoffs. It was fantastic that he didn't show up in the playoffs for the Seahawks. Like, truly. But I really struggle giving a quarterback the credit that he got, that he is getting, when he had a defense that was number 1 in most statistics. I was looking at this. They were top 5 in almost every statistic except for maybe like passing attempts against or something like that. But I look at that defense and there's only one hole maybe, and that's Tariq Woolen. And even then he played very well, but he was the only one that really gave up any issues. So as a whole, I think the Seattle Seahawks have a chance to run it back, are in a good position to be poised for future success. And Sam Darnold, I will give you your props. You are a top 10 quarterback. I will give him top 10. I'm not going to give him top 5. He's not there. I think the past couple of quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl outside of Patrick Mahomes have not deserved to be in that top 5 conversation. I was not high on Jalen Hurts last year. A lot of people were. I don't want to overrank someone that just won a Super Bowl and was maybe not the engine of it. And I don't think any people are going there, but I have 9 quarterbacks that I could probably name off the top of my head that I would take over Sam Darnold right now. And I saw a graphic that Cam Newton had 4 quarterbacks that he would rather take. And I'm like, I think it was in the NFC. That was different because they were saying in the NFC. But as a whole, I think that Sam Darnold's probably top 10, but it's just 10. Now over to the Patriots side. MVP snubbed Drake May. And I'm not snubbed. The reason I say snubbed and not in the sense of like he should have won is that if you look at the MVP voting, Justin Herbert got a vote. And Justin Herbert, yes, was the most valuable player on his team. But he was not the most valuable player in the league. We had Matt Stafford and Drake May. That vote should have gone to probably Drake May. Or it would have gone to... The issue, I think, that arose as a result of this MVP voting situation is the fact that we had a one vote deficit. But there's no guarantee that the guy that voted for Justin Herbert wasn't going to vote for Matt Stafford. People are saying this like, oh, it was a shoo-in. There was no world in which Matt Stafford was... Like Drake May wasn't going to get that last vote. He could have voted for Matt Stafford. But getting back into it, Drake May is a fantastic quarterback and is going to have a very, very bright future. But what do the Patriots need to do to get back here and win? Put people around him. Do not do what your division rival does in the Buffalo Bills and not give him talent. Give him the talent he needs. That is how the Patriots win. The Patriots need to pursue wide receiver help. Mac Hollins, make him your guy. Stephon Diggs was dead silent, but you need to invest in this offense to make them an even higher caliber offense. Get Mike McDaniels out of that offensive coordinator position. Go and get your wonder kid. Go and get your guy that is going to be a young, smart, hungry offensive coordinator and do it. And truly, get your Kubiak, get your LaFleur, get and McVay back when he was with other teams as an offensive coordinator. Get a Shanahan, get an offensive mind in that offensive coordinator position and make Drake May look like an MVP more than he even did this year. Because I think that the offensive play calling was questionable in this Super Bowl. And yes, did the offensive line struggle a bit? Yeah, Will Campbell kind of got shown up. Truly, he did not perform when the lights were brightest. And he's young. I give it to him. Truly, he is young. I think he's 2 years older than me in age. This kid is going to grow and develop and get better. But you put a rookie tackle out there. Yes, he was a high draft pick, but he was playing against the top defensive line in the NFL. He was. But I think he's not the problem. He's going to develop. He's going to get better over years. But what you need to do is get him better wide receivers, get him a strong running back room. Either give Travion Henderson the ball and say it's your job or something. But there was just not enough offense there, and I just didn't know what was happening. And yes, Drake May did have some issues. I mean, he threw 2 interceptions. One of them was not on him. He got absolutely throttled by a pressure and just tried to get rid of it, and it is what it is. The other one, I don't know what happened. He didn't need to throw the ball. That's where young quarterback decision-making happens. He did not need to throw the ball there, and he did, and it hurt the team. It's going to get better. It will. This Patriot team is going to be good for a long time if they continue to invest in, one, having one of the top defenses in the NFL, and two, giving him some weapons. Giving their guy weapons to make him the outright MVP. But we'll see what happens when they play a tougher schedule. But they still have the Dolphins and the Jets on the board, so that's not necessarily going to happen as we hit halftime, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Quick halftime break. We are now going to be going in. That was kind of some of my Super Bowl talk. All in all, once again, give the Seattle Seahawks their props. They were a fantastic team this year. They played out of their mind, and they deserve to be Super Bowl champions. Enjoy it. We'll see what happens next season because the NFC West is only going to continue to get better. But we are going to, in the next 2 quarters, third quarter, we're going to take a look at my NFL award predictions and see how extremely wrong I was. And then, in the fourth quarter, I'm going to give you a little bit of a TrackTime preview. I'm going to talk some Formula One. And then I will be announcing on my social medias when the first TrackTime officially will happen. We'll unveil the logo, which I did get commissioned by someone. And we're going to have an animation. I know we're moving up in the world, but let's get into the third quarter as we take a look at my egregious NFL award predictions. Okay. As we move over. Actually, wait, I don't need to go to that. Okay, cool. We're right here. Let's get into it. Okay. My MVP prediction, as all of you might remember, or some of you, probably most of you don't. I predicted from the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow to be the MVP. Joe Burrow made the Pro Bowl. But that's about all I can say. He got hurt really early on. It really tanked his season as a whole. Like, I think if Burrow was healthy, he would have put up numbers that were worth it. But that team was not winning enough games to get an MVP. I mean, to be a most valuable player, you have to have a team that is a top seed and be able to put up numbers. I think Joe Burrow would have put up numbers that would have been on par with Stafford, but not with the efficiency Stafford had. I mean, Stafford threw so few interceptions compared to what Joe Burrow probably would have if we were to like extrapolate what he did. But yeah, I predicted Joe Burrow to be the MVP. Did not happen. Just didn't. Matt Stafford played one of the best seasons of football we've seen. He did it at 38, and he's now one of the oldest MVPs to win. And that man was a Hall of Famer in Detroit, and he has secured himself a Hall of Fame with that MVP. Okay, next, Offensive Player of the Year. I predicted Bijan Robinson with the Atlanta Falcons. He had a good season. He had a very good season that would have probably been on par, but again, the issue is that I think he was probably the third best offensive player. Puka Nacua obviously was number 2, and then Jackson Smith-Njigba was the one that won the award for the Seattle Seahawks. Wow. That's the other thing is Jackson Smith-Njigba did not have a very good game, but the offense didn't have a good game. So I don't blame Jackson Smith-Njigba. He kind of got a little bit banged up. His ankle got rolled on. Either way, I predicted Bijan Robinson. I think it was a good prediction as a whole. I think the Atlanta Falcons just went through quarterback hell, and right now there's predictions that there are predictions that we are going to be seeing the Atlanta Falcons cut Kirk Cousins, which putting him in as a free agent, it saves them money. I believe it saves them cap room. It's the right move, but man, I would not cut him unless they can get trade value. I think there's a couple of teams that I think could really use someone like Kirk Cousins, just a bridge quarterback as they're transitioning. This team might be one of them. But regardless, we can talk about that in off-season stuff otherwise. But getting back into it, Jackson Smith-Njigba had one of the best wide receiver seasons we've seen in a while. Since Cooper Kupp, it's been one of the best wide receiver seasons we've seen. And he did it on a team that was running the ball more dependently. It wasn't like that Rams team where it was sling the rock. It was, hey, we're like, the Clint Kubiak's offense was pound the rock, and then it will open it up. But Jackson Smith-Njigba established himself as the number 1 wide receiver, especially after the DK trade. he was a guy that I didn't necessarily see exploding onto the scene, and he became the offensive player of the year. So props to him. Such a young guy, going to be a very, very good wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks for the foreseeable future. Next, defensive player of the year. I picked from the Green Bay Packers, Micah Parsons. I said, hey, this trade is going to be the thing that rejuvenates his career, puts him back in the path where he's going to be a high-caliber player. Going to be defensive player of the year. And then Myles Garrett went and broke the sack record. Like Myles Garrett broke the sack record on 400 something snaps played. He broke the sack record in less snaps than the other guys. People are like, oh, 17-game season doesn't count. He played less snaps. That matters. People are like, oh, but it was more games. It doesn't matter. He played less snaps. And when you have 23 sacks in a season, it shouldn't matter how many games you played. You broke the record. Truly, he is a Hall of Famer shoo-in every day of the week. This is what happens when you're as dominant of a player as you are, and it is sad to see that his career is going to be wasted with the Browns. Because this man should be on a Super Bowl contender, and he was never going to get a Super Bowl contender team as long as he is with the Cleveland Browns. Next, comeback player of the year. I had a defensive player. I had Aiden Hutchinson, which I think was a good prediction. He was coming off of a huge injury. He was still a very good player. I think he got, I believe, Defensive Player of the Year votes. So it was a good situation and a good prediction in my opinion. But Christian McCaffrey came back and was a high caliber player, and yeah, there was no coming back from that. When I saw Christian McCaffrey, something like nearly almost, I think, like 1,500 scrimmage yards, coming off of an injury in a season where he didn't play, which we're still questioning about whether the substation is actually impacting 49ers. That's a crazy conspiracy. Sorry, we're going to get on a quick tangent. There are currently reports about the electrical substation, the major electrical substation that is built next to the 49ers practice facility and Levi stadiums. And they are attributing that the radiation, the science guy, the guy who is like truly like backing this up with evidence, is saying that the low grade radiation coming from the electric substation lowers and breaks down collagen protein production, which is very impactful in soft tissue injuries such as like tendons or ligaments. ACLs, collagen is big for nails, for joints, for bone, like for tendons. And what team has the most soft tissue injuries? And that's the 49ers. So there's some conspiracies going on there, but either way, it's set up for a great comeback player of the year situation with Christian McCaffrey. So congrats to Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers winning that. Then I have that's offensive rookie of the year. I was well gone. Toast. Because I predicted Cam Ward. It was not Cam Ward, it was Tyrone McMillan, which looking back on it, that was the correct prediction. Tyrone McMillan was going into probably the better situation in terms of quarterbacks for the wide receivers. Emeka Mbuka looked like he was going to be the shoe-in for the first half of the season, and then once he became the wide receiver one, he just kind of fell off. Baker's production fell off. And then Cam Ward put in one of the worst situations out of all the quarterbacks. Jackson Dart was probably the best quarterback outside of Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck played well, but wins are not necessarily a team statistic, and he, in terms of efficiency, was playing about the same as Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart was just flashier. There was a lot of things. But either way, Tyrone McMillan, props to you. Great job winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year as a wide receiver. That is a tough task, and he was able to do it. Next, we have Defensive Rookie of the Year. I predicted Abdul Carter out of the New York Giants, and it was Carson Schwessinger out of the Cleveland Browns. Now, I actually think that somebody else was snubbed. I think Nick Imanwari out of the Seattle Seahawks probably should have won it, but Carson Schwessinger had excellent statistics, played out of his mind. He was a very, very good linebacker for that Cleveland Browns defense that was exceptional this season. So, props to him. Impressive season. It just, again, I feel bad for his career because he is with the Cleveland Browns. Next, so if you're wondering why I just acted that way. Coach of the year. I had hope. I was someone who, hard on my sleeve, believed that the Cardinals were going to be good this year. And I predicted Jonathan Gannon as coach of the year. This will have to go down as my worst prediction in the entire history of GameClock. I'm going to move on from that. Jonathan Gannon is fired. We're going to move on to Protector of the Year. Okay. I put Protector of the Year as... Oh, Coach of the Year. Sorry. Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year. I think that probably someone like Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, or even... who's the other new hire? I think Liam Cohen deserved it more than Mike Vrabel. We already knew that Mike Vrabel was a good coach, whereas what Liam Cohen did was much better. Then we have Protector of the Year. I predicted Joe Alt as Protector of the Year. He was playing out of his mind previous season. I think it was just a good prediction as a whole. But Joe Thuney ended up winning that. Huge trade for the Bears, by the way. They traded, I think, a 4th-round pick to get the Protector of the Year over to the Chicago Bears. All these C names are throwing me off. So the Chicago Bears got Joe Thuney, and he was the Protector of the Year for Caleb Williams, who's another quarterback I would probably take over Sam Darnold. But that is it for the awards. The NFL awards. Well, okay, by the way, Hall of Fame class. Props to everyone. Drew Brees getting in. Larry Fitzgerald. Sorry, I care more about Fitz if you couldn't tell. Larry Fitzgerald, congrats on being a Hall of Famer. He deserves it. And now, we're going to get into track time, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So this time is going to be spent talking about track time, kind of the concept and what we will be looking at. So, track time is going to be your new favorite Formula One show or racing show, depending on which way you want it. I will be talking about Formula One, specifically breaking down races, talking about my performers of the week. I'll predict my driver of the week. I'll predict who I think is going to flop in the following week. But either way, you might be wondering, Michael, Formula One racing series don't have game clocks. They don't have quarters. What are you going to do? Well, that's where the fun part begins. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we will be moving from a quarter format to a sector format. So, for those of you who are uninformed and new to Formula One, laps are broken up into 3 sectors. Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3. And all of them have different times and different things. We're going to be a little bit more uniform. We're probably going to be doing 15 minutes per sector. I will dial in the details for sure. But we're going to be talking about Formula One, the race that happened, racers that performed well, all of these things, how rookies are looking, even though we'll only have 1 rookie in this season. But it's exciting to see. I'm excited to see. This is if you have never watched Formula One, this is the season to do it. We have a new team, Cadillac F1 team, a true American team. Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez are going to be the drivers. Both are experienced drivers that are fun drivers to watch. They are both have been on Constructor Champions. They're going to help develop the car, but that's a new team. But you might be wondering, Michael, why is this such a big deal? There was a regulation change. In 2026, the cars are brand new. There's a bunch of changes. The Formula One YouTube channel does an exceptional job at explaining all of the different rule changes and how they're going to impact Formula One as a whole. Some of the top teams, people are predicting. So last year, McLaren won the Constructor Championship, had the driver champion of Lando Norris, who is one of my favorite drivers. Lando, exceptional driver, drove out of his mind, was Mr. Consistent this past season. This next upcoming season is going to be the season of engine power. A lot of people are believing it's going from an aerodynamics, because Formula One eras are kind of defined by aerodynamics or power. Power units are the engine, the battery, all of the things that make the car go vroom. Aerodynamics are the things that make the car go whoosh, as in their wing package, how air moves over the car. They have wind tunnels and things like that that make it more interesting to see kind of how this works. So we're going from what's called the ground effect era into now a more power era. And teams that have dominated in power eras in the past have been teams like Mercedes. And Mercedes, the way that Formula One works is teams will have constructors that they buy from. They're customer teams. So constructor teams, for example, would be teams like, constructor teams, I'll explain that first, are going to be teams like Mercedes, like Ferrari, now like Red Bull, and Audi are, I believe, the four engine constructors. And other teams are customer teams. They buy their engines from those constructors. For example, Ferrari has a couple of customer teams. One of them is Haas Formula One team. Another one is Cadillac. Cadillac is not going to produce their own engine for a couple of years. They're going to get themselves ready, and then they'll step into it. Mercedes has a couple of customer teams, such as Aston Martin, McLaren F1 team. I feel like I'm missing one. Alpine, I think, is now I don't know who Alpine's buying from. Alpine was their own constructor, and then Alpine's one of the worst teams in Formula One currently. But their teams have all these things, and we're going into a power era, and Mercedes engines tend to perform better in power eras, and there's this loophole that everyone has been talking about in the Formula One sphere about, these teams are going to get so much more power because of it. Yes, and we don't know anything until Formula One testing starts, which is going to happen in a couple of weeks, which is when we'll start doing track times. But the more I talk about this, the more excited I'm getting, because I love Formula One. But it's exciting to see. We're going to only have one rookie, and that's going to be Arvin Lindblad, and he's a very young driver, very talented driver. He's going to be driving for what is called, I believe it's Visa Cash App Red Bull, or VCARB, and that is, or Racing Bulls, sorry, misspoke, Racing Bulls. That is the junior team for Red Bull. It's the second team, kind of like the sister team to Red Bull. Red Bull has currently the, not world champion, but arguably one of the best drivers in Formula One right now, Max Verstappen. And they have Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar just moved up from VCARB to Red Bull. Same thing, and they have Liam Lawson, who was a guy who did drive for Red Bull and then got moved down to the junior team. Outside of that, not many driver moves happened this season. Alpine still has Franco Colapinto and Pierre Gasly. Haas still has Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon. Truly the biggest deal in this F1 season is the Cadillac F1 team. We have a brand new team on the grid. The last time there was a brand new team on the grid, I believe, was either Manor or Haas. One of those two teams was the last team, but we haven't had 11 teams on the grid since, I believe, 2016, and that was back when Nico Rosberg won the World Championship. But either way, it's going to be an exciting season because no one knows what's going to happen. This is what happens when new regulations happen. Now, obviously, the top teams are probably going to stay the top teams. You're still going to have McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull as some of those top teams. Ferrari, historically, top team. Since I've watched Formula One, not top team. They're a top team in the sense of they compete, but they're not winning constructor championships. They're not winning drivers championships. Ferrari, in the last decade, has not done anything of significance in terms of their legacy. All they've done is produce some good drivers, but they really only poached from other teams. Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen, those guys succeeded on other teams. Charles Leclerc is really their homegrown boy, but even then, he might start to get peeved. But getting back to the whole, track time. We'll be focusing on talking about Formula One as a whole, talking about the drivers, how the races went, and just being able to be a Formula One fan. And if you're someone that's brand new to the sport, brand new to racing, this is a great entrance, and hopefully we'll be able to get you interested and excited about Formula One, something that I'm so passionate about. Drive to Survive is a great entry point if you're someone who has never watched racing before. It is. How much integrity they have journalistically, different conversation. But they tell a good story. And if you want to get to know drivers, get to know their personalities, Drive to Survive is a great way to get into it. If all you have experienced from F1 is the F1 movie, let me just tell you, dramatized fantasy, not reality. That is not how Formula One works, but it was cool movie, for sure. Cool movie. Formula One is one of my passions. I love this sport I love this sport, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys. with TrackTime, my new project. I'm excited. We got new logo. We got animations because my contractor, who may or may not be my sister, is like that and figured it out. And I'm so excited. I'm very excited for TrackTime. And if you're wondering, hey, Michael, is GameClock going to come back? We'll see. I'm not going to make any commitments. I'm not going to commit to anything and say, hey, GameClock is for sure going to come back next season, because I don't know. I don't quite know what my world holds. For those of you who are curious about who I am in my not personal life, but stuff going on, I will be going to Arizona State University for sports journalism, and I recently got a graduate assistantship, so I'm very excited for that, and I'm excited to see what kind of the Lord holds in my life. And so GameClock may have to take a back seat. Same with TrackTime, but TrackTime will be my full pursuit and passion over at least until August when that starts up. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, that has been GameClock. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. This has been season 1 of GameClock. I hope to see you guys next time here on GameClock. But make sure to check out TrackTime when it starts in just a couple weeks. Good evening and good night.